Lisa has been working overtime for 7 days and nights. The company was concerned about the health of the employee. They took her to the special lift. Lisa dragged her tired body inside. Strangely enough, just as the lift doors closed, in less than a second it opened again, and within that second, the dark circles under Lisa's face disappeared. She had changed her clothes. Lisa even felt more refreshed now. Lisa had wanted to escape from the office so many times, but every time she reached the door, she hesitated to push the door open and leave, only to be sent back to the same place the next minute. No matter how many times she tried, Lisa couldn't get out of the door, and every Friday, at the end of the day, she would suddenly jump to Monday's workday. There was no way to enjoy her weekends, and her physical condition would never break down, even after working for a month straight, but she still felt energized. Finally she started asking her head of department, "How can I resign from the company?" It was a scary thought. Roy and her colleagues had never dared to think about quitting. You know that when you join this company, their personalities are divided into two. One personality is responsible for going to work. At the end of the day, they switch back to the life personality. The memories of the two sides are mutually exclusive. That's why Lisa feels like she's never off duty. And once she quits and leaves the company, the work personality disappears. It's the same as if she were dead right now. But there is a way to leave if you really want to. As long as the work personality and the life personality. If you submit a request to leave both, there was a way to leave the company. At first Lisa was a little hesitant, but as time went on she realized the company was really boring. The people she worked with were like a bunch of soulless people. She decided to submit a resignation request. The resignation came a day later. Roy couldn't believe it. He had never seen such a quick exit approved before. Lisa was very happy. It seems that the personalities out there are very communicative. This life could finally be over. But she was still too optimistic. The outside personality refused to quit. It was like a bolt from the blue for Lisa. She rushed into the bathroom. Roy was very uneasy. Lisa had been in there for over an hour. Lisa was actually writing a letter to herself from inside. Roy was afraid that his subordinate might not be able to think straight. He told her to be prepared to do what she needed to do, even though Lisa had stressed that she was not fully clothed. He opened the door and walked in. No surprise that he found Lisa's little mind. But the identifier can detect text anywhere. If it detects text leaving the office with it, he would be punished, not even if it was 2 arms spelled out. Lisa wasn't about to give up like that. When no one was looking, writing again on a post-it note, looking around with her eyes, folding the note and putting it in the pen before anyone notices. Tear off a piece of tape, wrap the letter around it, break off the extra part of the barrel, quickly get up and go to the water area, trying to get a glass of water and swallow the barrel. A familiar voice sounded behind him again. Roy pretended that nothing had happened. Roy told her, the identifier can detect even the words in an employee's body. Lisa played it cool. After the words were detected in the body, the company would forcibly remove the text from the body, and the removal might be done by some means. You know the company doesn't have the patience waiting for her to expel it naturally. Roy held out his palm, and after a bit of a mental struggle, he spat it out. Once again, the escape plan was foiled, but Lisa is still reluctant to give up. During a departmental visit to the statue of the company's patriarch, over some issues of company philosophy, the two got into an argument. Lisa takes advantage of the break to run away again. Roy was in the middle of an argument, suddenly noticed that the disobedient employee had disappeared again. Lisa dashes around corner after corner. Roy chases after her, but Lisa was one step ahead of him, turning back to pull out a fire extinguisher, smashing right through the glass. The alarm goes off across the floor. Her boss, who was reading a book, rushed out. Lisa threw the note she had written outside. Her arm was bruised by the broken glass. Roy rushes over and pulls her back by force. Security was already standing in front of her. Now she was going to be punished. And it was at this moment. Lisa had also developed a hatred for the man in front of her. But Roy was actually protecting his subordinate in his own way. She was sent to the lounge. It was a horrible punishment. The supervisor was already waiting inside. After treating Lisa's wounds with antiseptic, it was officially punishment time. During the punishment time, she had to put her hand into this special device. The supervisor prepares the chart. After putting on the headset, turn on this audio tape. Lisa now needs to recite the confessional statement. Turn on the light to prevent the penitent from being distracted. It is very easy to leave the lounge. All that is required is to read the confessional statement in good faith. Lisa perfunctorily began to read it from the text. The vocal line on the chart kept shaking. After completing 1 round, the supervisor decided that Lisa did not mean what she said. She needed to repeat it. Lisa had no choice but to continue. But it was clear that the confessions that followed were still not from the heart. She needed to repeat them again. Soon it's the end of the day. Roy remained at his workstation, worried about the new employee. It seemed that Lisa's rebellious streak had awakened something in him. The colleagues had left the office. Roy pulled out the new group photo he had taken. He was about to replace the photo of his old colleague who had resigned. Just as he was replacing them, suddenly he noticed a map on the back of the old colleague's photo. It shows the location of each department in the company. There was also an unknown area with no known name. Instead of handing in the contraband, He put it in the compartment of the new frame. Lisa had been apologizing continuously for a day and a night, suffering badly both physically and mentally. The supervisor still meticulously studied the markings on the chart, and she needed to keep putting her hand in the groove. Rereading the confessional statement again, the supervisor looked at the time overhead. He knew Lisa couldn't hold out much longer, turning off the blinding light bulb, taking her off work for now, to the door of the off-duty lift. As the doors closed, there was a crunching sound and then it opened again. For Lisa, only a second had passed, but her physical and mental state had returned to normal. Even though it had been reread more than 500 times, the superior was still waiting for that heartfelt confession. After another 500 times, Lisa was already in tears. She seemed to have really realized her mistake. She kept apologizing and saying sorry. Every word came from the heart, but the penitent forbade to revise the sentences already written. She had to do it all over again, and after an unknown amount of time, finally she was able to leave the common room. Roy asked her how many times she'd read it. Just under 2,000 times. During the lunch break she talked to Tom about the lounge. Having been in the lounge countless times, Tom had got the hang of it. He liked to imagine that he had taken someone else's wife, and then feels very guilty about it. Just read the statement aloud with that in mind. It usually only takes an afternoon to get out. Roy didn't approve of this approach. As long as everyone follows the rules and the staff code, the break room is just an ornament. Sooner or later, I'm sure the staff will enjoy the benefits of following the rules. But then another terrible thing happened. A colleague found contraband in the meeting room. It was actually the book that the supervisor had forgotten to take with him. He was now terrified. He had to go back and inform his colleague. That's when Lisa spotted the map hidden in the compartment. Roy rushed over and tried to take it back. The map was contraband. He explained that he had found it by accident. Tom questioned him about not turning it in to his boss. Lisa didn't expect Roy to be so disingenuous, telling people to follow the rules every day, but secretly breaks them himself. Roy really only wanted to keep her out of the lounge in the first place. All these locations on the map were normally off limits. There was even an unknown area. She thought it might be a way to get out of the office. Roy thought they were just scribbles. Lisa found the man in front of her even more unbelievable. A former best friend who had left without warning. He didn't care about the clues he'd left behind. He was a good, obedient employee. Roy angrily grabbed the photos, taking out the shredder, and stressed that he really didn't care about them. Less than 3 seconds later, this important map just disappeared. The two men got into a cold war. Just then a colleague walks in. He led them to the conference room where the contraband was kept. There were 2 contraband items in one day. Company rules forbid the reading of any text other than the staff code. Roy simply picked up the book. This behavior shocked his colleagues, but Tom could see that he was rebelling, because Lisa said he was a good and obedient employee. Turning to the front page of the book, it turns out the book was given to him by someone else. Some people think it's a company loyalty test. This kind of writing, with its blind worship, is unacceptable. It should be handed in immediately. I don't know if it was out of anger or for some other reason. Roy chose to keep the book. For many days afterwards, he became obsessed with the unpleasant text. He used to sneak it into the toilets to read it when his colleagues went to dinner. The author had written his views on life in the book. Some of the words struck a chord in Roy's heart. The difference between a man and a machine is that machines can't think on their own. Good people follow rules. A great man follows his heart, whereas a bully has nothing but rants and lies. If you find yourself bowing to a rule, then stop and ask. It may well be you who needs to make a change. This book is like a whole new world. It opened Roy's mind, and a seed of rebellion is quietly taking root.